So we obviously know each other.
Yeah.
You've assisted us a few times, and also, you know, we've kind of hung out socially as well. And we actually chose you to be one of the 5 participants because, you know, we do know each other, but also you being Indian, and the fact that we generally want to help you out, and obviously we've offered you advice along the way.
Yeah.
But it'd be great to hear, because we haven't seen each other for what must be a year or so, maybe a bit over that.
Actually,
Just
yeah.
to kind of see where you're at, and you know, obviously on set, you know, you're assisting, so we don't really get to have a one-on-one conversation. So why don't you just kind of tell us a little bit, you know, about where you're at in your journey, and how we can help you.
Firstly, thank you very much for the invite. So I'm really blessed to be a part of this, and obviously with you guys, knowing you. So yeah, can't thank you guys enough, and arranging this. So yeah, so a bit about myself. I'll go track back before I even met Amit and Naroop. My sort of initial inspiration within photography came about through music, actually, and over a discussion and a few drinks over the pool table with my friend, who really influenced me in the jazz, the kind of jazz world, the soul funk world. And I sort of really got inspired, and then I started researching some photography based around that. So I think that romantic era of jazz and music photography during the 50s, 60s, 70s is where I started getting inspired by. And so I think one of my dreams was, when I picked up a camera, to be one day like in-house photographer at Ronnie Scott's. I learned that was a big challenge, because there was a couple of guys, particularly David Redfern. I used to look at his work quite intensely. He had a stomping ground there for 40 years. So, and that evolved, and you know, with my personal work, it's really been like capturing that moment. And then as I've evolved, I've really kind of learnt a technical side to lighting within the studio environment. So I assisted yourselves, and how I met you, and I worked in lighting rental. So that gave me a good foundation, really, to enter the world of being on set, working with various photographers, and then sort of adapting that to formulate a style, which I believe is still progressing. And I still feel the world of still life that I've entered is very much having a dialogue with the portrait work I enjoy shooting. So, yeah, it's at the moment I'm working full time, and I'm in the still life and interior world, and products. So that's giving me a kind of driving force to, you know, with output, making sure I deliver, working, assisting, shooting occasionally. So it's like this kind of right deadline. So it's the commercial side of it, which has really been a benefit in the last year or two to me. And
amazing, man. That sounds great. Why don't you hit us with your first question?
So I'll hit you with the first question, which has obviously, I think, been touched upon before. But as we've you know, talked about being from an Asian background, and that's touched upon, I wanted to sort of dive into maybe expanding on a couple of your own personal experiences. So what specific kind of scenario did you face with your families, as individuals mainly first, to when you wanted to present the case to say, right, I really want to do this? And I know the question all the time comes down to, are you going to make money from it, being from an Indian? What does this mean? And it's like, should you be shooting weddings, you know?
I guess we'd have to answer it separately. But you know, when I spoke to my parents about it, they were 100% supportive. And one thing I always thank them for so much, they never ever said, Naroop, are you doing the right thing? They just kept on kind of supporting and saying, well done, son, well done, well done. And any little milestone, the first paid job, the first, you know, a cover for a magazine, you know, the first celebrity, just to see that progress, they were very supportive. And I think I'm one of those kind of guys where you can tell my emotions by the way, by my face, my facial expressions. I can't hide my feelings very well, so they would know if I'm stressed or not, if I'm feeling a little bit down, and they were always there to support me. And that's a great thing. But the wider family circle is interesting. Like the minute you go into business for yourself, people think you're making a lot of money. So people would immediately say, "Oh, yeah, you making a lot of money, innit? How much money are you making? You bet you're making loads of money, right?" And friends and stuff would say that too. But I remember once one of my aunties came over and she's like, "Oh, Noop, so how's things going?" And they weren't going that great. We were hustling. But one thing I've always maintained is I always speak my future desires into the present. So I'll always say, yeah, things are amazing because that's how I want them to be. So I would say, yeah, I'd say, yeah, things are going great. And she'd say, you're making a lot of money. And I said, yeah, yeah, yeah. And so for her, in her eyes, making money equated to success. And I just thought, that's so short-sighted to think that. Like, I've always had a long-term view. And so, in the wider family circle, I think there was this idea that, oh, you've got to make money to be successful. And, as we know, money does not equate to happiness at all. So that's, but immediate family, parents, brother is also in the creative industries. He was totally supportive. So I think it's down to that structure that allowed us myself personally, to keep on pursuing it. Amit?
Yeah, I mean, I'm lucky because my dad had a passion for photography anyway. So he had kind of dabbled in a bit of wedding photography, was doing some editing, and then when Narup and I started, we got, the thing about us is when we do something, we're like, we go in, so we're excited. We're like, yeah, we think we should have a studio. And they're like, okay. And I look back now and I think if I had a 19-year-old child that said, Mum, Dad, I need to borrow a bit of money for deposit and, I want to put the mortgage on your name and we'll pay it, don't worry. I'd look at them and say, are you mad? Or are you crazy? Like, no business experience, nothing. But I think my parents sniffed that potential. They sniffed the potential and they realized that we were willing to put the work in. And it wasn't just like it was an idea. It was like they would see us graft all the time. They would see us do shoots. They would see us just hustle. And I think that we kind of proved that we were serious. And I think there's a lot of people now, especially youngsters, that get in the photography game and they love the idea of being a photographer. They're like, it's such a cool thing, man. It's wicked. But, maybe they don't necessarily put enough hours in. Or even if you look at their portfolio, I know assistants that hit us up 3-4 years ago. And I've recently visited their websites. And I've only seen like a few new shoots. And I'm like, okay, but 3 or 4 years ago, you were saying you want to build this, you want to do that. What have you done? But even though Narup and I failed so much, what was interesting is there was so much new work going up every week, every month, that even if it wasn't working, we were tweaking, we were evolving. And I think my parents saw that and they were like, you know what, you haven't nailed it yet, but you guys are definitely gonna smash it. And we're fortunate that they backed us, So I think that, convincing your parents isn't easy. The best way to get around that is proving that you're making moves, because if you don't prove that, then of course they're going to lose faith in you, right? But how about on your end? Have you had challenges with your family at all?
I think like my father worked in Kodak, so he was involved with the more processing, manufacturing side of film, so graphic art film. So he understood the kind of photography world per se a little bit, and even on both ends, the professional side and the consumer side. But I think obviously like mum was always a bit like, what are you doing? I've always looked at, okay, bit of the off the beaten track sort of child, a bit rebellious. And I guess, the questions used to arise all the time. Okay, where do you sit in? How do you see this as a career? Even when I'm sometimes still doing my personal work, it's like the question does arise occasionally. Where's the kickback from it? So I think naturally they're always inquisitive and always want to ask, is this going to materialize? Because naturally parents do get worried. But I think obviously coming from the Asian community, I have found wider family particularly will always never quite understand what you do, and I've learned to accept that and not tried to justify myself too much. So I remember when I was a bit tipsy once, and someone asked me, and I said, I'm a brain surgeon, you know, just to keep it simple. So it's like, you know, I'm a surgeon because, you know, I don't question about what I do.
You know what the interesting thing is, right? Is that when people say when they think about money as being success, it's not how much money you earn, it's how you earn your money, which I think is important. So you could earn tons of money, but if you're stressed constantly, if you're stuck in front of a computer, if you're traveling 3 hours a day, right, you've got all this money in the bank, and guess what? What are you going to do with it? You spend 90% of your time doing something that you don't even like. Well, we've got to think, like, in what we do, fair enough, I would say Amit and I are at a successful level, but we worked hard. And when we weren't earning much money, I also always used to tell myself, look, it's how I'm earning the money. I've got no boss. I love shooting. I love the creative process. Every day is different, meeting new people, traveling, all that kind of stuff. Like, it's amazing. It's an amazing lifestyle. Like, so what if there's someone else who's got 5, 10, 15, 20 more grand than you in the bank? It doesn't make a difference, because that's ultimately, you can't take any of that away. All you're going to ever take away with your experiences, how did you live this life?
And you know what's interesting is what validated that is when we were doing talks at the big photography shows, and we were, you know, in front of 500 people, and we're telling people about our career and our journey. We'd get people coming up to us afterwards who were all from, you know, decent, high-paid jobs, saying, I'd love to leave my job as a lawyer or a doctor, and really I'd love to be a photographer. And it's kind of like, whoa, like that's really, really interesting for me, that these people have actually experienced it, and they're like, you know what, I'd rather earn 20% less and do something I love. Exactly and what you said there.
My old man always used to say to me, never chase the money. Never chase the money. Be true to whatever it is that you're doing. Be true to the craft. And if you're good enough, and if it's right for you, you know, the money will come as a byproduct. And that's 100% exactly what has happened. Is that stay true to it. Stay true to the gift that we believe we've been given, instead of feeling that we're jumping on the next big thing. You know, stay true to what we know we're innately good at, and people will recognize it, and everything that you want will come. But, you know, sometimes you're just not ready. So if it doesn't come at that early stage and family put pressure on you, it's different. And yeah, exactly. It's really important that what you do, what you love to do. But I'd also add to that one point, it's important that you love what you do, but you also need to make sure that you're getting feedback and that you're doing the thing that you love in the right way. You can love what you're doing, you can love what you do, but if you're doing it the wrong way, you're never going to get where you need to get. So that's where mentorship and guidance comes into play. Is having that coach. If you think about it, everybody, like all sports stars, have coaches. You've got to have a coach who trains you and teaches you what to do. Why do we feel in the creative industry you don't need coach? We don't need a coach. You do. You need to be guided. You need to be told what's right and what's wrong, or at least be, you know, advised to what's right and what's wrong. So that's something I would add to that point. Next question, Ravi.
Yeah, well, to add, that's really important, because I feel you could come up with a body of work and in the end it could be meaningless. So it's the thought processes and the people you seek is important to make that happen. And then sort of like leading on to that, you know, with your relationship together, what I was interested in, you know, you talked about, you know, how you had your down moments when you first came together, your family particularly as well. So how did you, I mean, really have those conversations with each other and to yourselves? What were the specific moments you said to yourselves, right, I'm really going to focus on this, and, you know, even have a frank conversation with each other without beating each other up?
You know, it's such an interesting question, and it's so hard because everything has gradually evolved, and it's been in the most organic way you can imagine. Literally, like, I think that, you know, from the first time we done the first shoot together, where it was a music artist Chirag, you know, I had never clicked a camera, and Rupert knew nothing about photography. We literally just had that magical moment, and we just let it flow. And I think one of the reasons perhaps we've been able to progress is because we've always had momentum in what we do, you know, and we're firm believers in failing fast. Like, we've made so many mistakes, wasted so much money on marketing and stuff that didn't work, and those things are the things that have taught us it's never been like we've been arguing, saying, oh, this isn't working, what we're going to do, let's scratch our heads. We'd rather actually go out and try something, learn from that, implement it and move on, rather than just have long wasted conversations. Because I think that's dangerous, because it can be toxic and it can be negative, whereas we always believe in testing, and test on a small scale, and if something works, roll it out. Let me ask you a question, Ravi, and the reason I'll ask you this question is, out of everyone we've had this week, you're the only one that's assisted us and spent time with us, which actually gives you a unique perspective, and even the others. What would you say has been the reason you've worked with us, the reason that we've maybe progressed, we've been able to shoot what we do? What do you think that the Amit and Narup formula is?
Well, firstly, I've never, it was new to me that you guys were a duo, because you don't normally see that in the industry. You always see an individual photographer with an assistant or a digi-op, or but so for you two combined, obviously when I came on set with you guys first, I was working out what you guys do as a role, how you interact with the client. So is it, where do you guys sit? So that was, for me personally, like a very observational task at the beginning to work out. And even if I have to ask you, Amit, a question on set, is it the right question to you, or should it be to Narup? Because you're behind the camera. Do you need me to ask you that question at that point? So I quickly learned how to, I guess, talk to you about certain things and Narup about certain things on set to get the job done. And my experience is like, Amit, you're just like the top communicator. You get the communication going and you lay the foundation of the atmosphere. And particularly, if you've got a model in hair and makeup, you're with that model in hair and makeup. And that leaves myself and Narup to organize the lighting setup, so it's pretty much ready to go when you come in. So your interaction is holistically on that subject. And that's what I found really great to observe and take in, because we've all been there before. If you're shooting by yourself, your brain's thinking about 10 million things in one go. So I guess the beauty of the way you both work is how you disperse that pressure amongst each other, and you're able to really kind of lay out the day quite fluidly without, obviously there's always going to be problems technically, whatever it may be, but it's always a fluid process, and it's, exactly what to do when you walk. When I know what to do when I walk in at 8:30 onto a set with you guys, it's just very straightforward. So I think it's a real, for me, a learning curve, more so on how you guys communicate, how you guys really get to that stage, especially in a commercial environment, to get that image that the client wants and deliver, and beyond deliver, give more than what the client wants. So that really has been insightful.
Is that something you think about? You said there's not a lot of duos in the industry. Why do you think that is? And do you think it's a benefit? Because people used to say to us, why are you guys going to work together? You're going to have to split your fees. But what they didn't realize is we may be doing 5 times more work than other people as well, right? But what is your, because I really believe that what's helped us is having each other. That unbound support is just being integral.
I think what Ravi said, he kind of nailed it on the head when he said that we disperse the responsibility between each other. And that's what people don't realize, that we both have separate strengths, right? That the other person isn't trying to learn or kind of step on like the other person's foot. Like, we know what our jobs are and our roles are, and we just play to that. We play to that. And one of our mentors, who's actually in business, he's a leadership expert, and he said, you guys have got your separate strengths. Don't try to build your weaknesses, improve on your strengths. Be masters at your strengths, because you can always bring other people in who can fill in that gap that you can't do. And that's exactly what we do, is fill in that gap. So so that's why we always encourage other photographers and creators, work with other people. Like, you'll get so much more done.
But you know, Ravi, I actually look at you as a hybrid of both of us, because you're brilliant with people, man. Like, everyone loves you. Like, we call, for the viewers, we call him Ravi from Paris, because Ravi comes on set, slick, comes on with his hat. You look, man, like a proper photographer. You do. Like, we're just plain like jeans and t-shirts, Converse dudes, right? But you look the part, man. Ravi from Paris comes on, and Ravi from Paris, everyone loves him. But also, you know the technical stuff inside out, man. You're like, you don't even need Google when Ravi's on set. You're like, Ravi will know the answer. Something hasn't turned up, whatever, Ravi will just sort it. So, dude, you've got a lot going for you, man. You are that hybrid of us. Just like, if we had a baby, it'd be Ravi. So you're our child. You're our child, man. But you should be exciting. The one thing I'd love to see from you, man, is just pushing out and putting out a bit more work. And I know you're busy, you know, sometimes you've got a lot of stuff going on, but I actually see a huge amount of potential for you, man, because like I said, you are that hybrid, and you're a brilliant communicator. You're nice, man, and you've got this warm, calm, charming aura about you that is just like, it puts everyone at ease. But at the same time, like, you have peace of mind that this guy knows everything about lighting and gear and technical, man. What do you think about Ravi, man?
Ditto. Everything you said, I think, is correct, man. We love having you. Said our only downside is we can't get you on set more with us, you know, because you're tied up with your work. So we always hit you up when we've got jobs, but you know, we need to give you 2 to 3 weeks notice, and sometimes we don't have that much notice ourselves. But let's head on to the next question, Ravi.
Yeah. So dealt with negativity. So I think what I wanted to ask you as well. So your early stages of when you were shooting and that sort of energy, that early energy you started gathering up, what set of images or image did you feel when you look back at that image and you say, right, I'm onto something there, and I can then develop that style? So what I want you to talk about is maybe that specific image, and then what enabled you to then develop your style, and what you felt was the right direction for you both.
Yeah, I think maybe it was a shoot. We did a shoot with this kind of urban boy band. Like, it was like one Indian guy and 2 black guys or something, and we had just got our flashlights.
Baby boys, the DJs.
Baby boys, they were DJs. And we just got some flashlights, and they were still like strobe lights, but we had put like umbrellas and reflectors on them. And we had done this shoot outdoors, but with really strong side lighting, right? And we just experimented. And when we saw them and when we retouched the images, we kind of loved that look. And we thought, you know, this look is really strong. Like, I love this kind of strong side lit, really dramatic, really sharp, crisp, you know, high contrast, saturated look. And I think once we did that, it just felt natural to us, because it reflected our personality as being these energetic, young, I'm talking about when we were younger, you know, not when we were in our 20s, you know, young, vibrant, you know, excited, enthusiastic photographers, and we're producing this bold, dynamic, sharp, crisp work. And that then, I think we then found that as our style and kind of latched onto that and said, yeah, this defines who we are.
But you know what was interesting, Ravi, is we had to kiss a few frogs first, because we tried still life. So we thought to ourselves, you know, if we're doing portraits, maybe we should have still life on our website. Then, you know, we could get booked for both. And I remember Noop was like, what should we shoot? And I literally went in my mom's kitchen. I pulled out a carrot. I'm like, let's make a carrot look sexy, right? So we've got put a carrot on a black colorama, some side lights, put a bit of oil on it, shaved it. And we're just shooting. Then he's like, no, what? It's not really working, man. He's like, well, why don't you get your dad's tie? So I can't get my dad's tie. And we're taking shots of this tie, like trying to make like a fashion advert. And literally after 3 hours, we're like, this is ridiculous. This is embarrassing. Like, this is not our destiny. And we both knew, and I think we realized that still life is a brilliant craft, but it wasn't for us.
We got too much energy.
Like, the carrot wasn't saying anything back. And I was just like, come on, man. I need someone to bounce on, man. You know, so, but yeah, we had to kiss frogs and we had to try stuff first, man. And like,
a lot of, you know what, I think the thing that's helped us the most is that we're self-taught.
Yeah.
We totally broke the rules. And I remember the first time we got a bigger commercial job, we had to get an assistant on board. I was a bit nervous. I thought, once this guy sees how we light, he's going to think
he's going to dub on us.
He's
going to let us.
But actually, when we set it up, and I said, look, this is how I want it to look, he was like, wow, I never thought of that. Yeah. You know, and so he was actually learning. So we totally taught ourselves how to light, and I think it's paid dividends for us because we've never we don't copy anyone else. And now we have a set of assistants, including yourself, who kind of know how we light, and we kind of say, okay, we want this, that, put that there, and yeah, we got a couple of
carrots,
we
man.
got a couple of carrots in the
Brilliant.
But you know, but yeah, that's I think that shoot with Baby Boys really defined our style.
Yeah, and I, you know, touching on your point, what you said about lighting, it's interesting because naturally you get drawn to photographers when you're starting out, or even at whatever stage in your career, you always sometimes look at other people's work and you think, oh, that's nice, that light is nice, that light coming from there, whatever. But I think like what you guys have done, and perhaps what I'm in this phase of doing, feeling at the moment, is not to look at photographers' work. It's just to really kind of feel myself what the light is doing and what.
Yeah, and you know what? Don't get caught up in the process too much. Or you know, I saw this textbook, and I saw on YouTube you got a light like this, and like Scorsese said, and Hitchcock said the same thing. All that matters is what appears on the screen. That's all that matters. So the way you light and how you do it, it doesn't matter. All that matters is what shows up on that image. You know, there's no right or wrong. There really isn't. Obviously, you want to make sure you've got a certain level of exposure, but it's all about how it looks on that screen. So don't worry too much about. I'm talking to viewers and anybody who's watching this, you know, about whether you're doing the lighting right or wrong. Just as long as it looks good, just go with it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a feeling you got to have.
Yeah, totally. It's an expression. It's an expression, man. So yeah.
Like, you know, maybe from my own personal work, I feel sometimes, right, you know, if I really want to do something, like get all the kit out, get this out, get that out, get this out, and then by the time you get going and you've got you're leading up to your first frame, you almost kind of throw it all out the window.
But sometimes people will feel they have to use all the kit just because they've got it out, and there's nothing wrong with pulling back and simplifying it, man. I see that so many people are like, I've got all this stuff, I have to use it. I'm like, you're overcomplicating something. It's like having a recipe and putting 50 ingredients in, and really you just need 5 good ingredients to make the dish, right? So yeah, and it's boys and their toys and girls and their toys, man. So it's interesting you say that.
Yeah, because it's like, I remember assisting on a shoot for a personal project with a photographer. And it was like, I know his setup is similar in how you guys, you know, you love getting your lights from different directions. And so I always anticipate that I have to do a lot of rigging and, you know, this, that, and the other is going to come from here. But in the end, it was just one soft 3-foot octa and just almost make it look like a document rather than an actual stylized photograph. So it totally depends on the vision.
Yeah, you got to be able to adapt, man. You got to be able to adapt.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Next question I have.
So for those people who have just joined, we're speaking with Ravi here. This is part of our Brown and Proud series where we're helping photographers from minority ethnic backgrounds, give them advice, helping them in their careers. So Ravi, yes, any more questions?
So yeah, the lead up to that was with your initial energy that you just talked about, your set of images.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you is, in terms of how has that energy evolved in your current sort of workflow, and what, you know, the kind of projects that you have in line, or, you know, in the pipeline of things that you want to do, and even on a commercial level, like how has your energy sort of really been channeled?
It's still I think it's still the same, man. It's just on a bigger scale, right? So I'll use like our Adidas shoot we did over December and January as an example, because it was a huge shoot, right? I mean, I remember the first day when we were shooting, actually the second day, because it was a 5-day shoot. The second day we shot in London, I think there must have been 15 people from Adidas. There must have been 15 people from the agency, managers, you know, Glam, our crew. So there's about 40 to 45 people on set, right? And so Amit and I have now got to manage this along with our producer and agent who are on set with us. So we're doing the same thing. Energy's, if anything, energy's got to be even higher. You know, we've got to be really loud, really vocal, totally confident. You know, can't show any nerves. You know, everyone is looking at us for direction. They paid all this money, right? And they wanted to see the results. So there's a lot of stress on us. And if you think that, you know, we've got the camera, and then we've got like 3 monitors that the images are feeding out to, right? So everyone's looking at the screen. So there's a lot of pressure on us that, you know, even the test shots have got to look good. So we've just got to be even bolder, like even more out there, not in a kind of audacious way, but just, you know, super confident, polite, kind, nice, but, you know, make sure everybody knows that we've got this in check. So, yeah, so in that same scenario, you know, Amit's there with the subject, but now I'm dealing with obviously getting the lighting on point. But I've now got client with me, and also I've got people from the agency. So I've got on my desk, I've got like table, maybe got 4 people around me who I'm constantly feedbacking to, and then giving feedback to the producer, but then also speaking with Amit about feedback too. So it's like this constant conversation happening on set, and all the while the subject has got to be at total ease, like can't feel any of the commotion. So what we will do is we'll put polyboards out in front of the tables where we're sat at. So literally the only person that's speaking to the subject would be myself and Amit. You know, so you're creating this whole kind of, you're incubating the subject from all the drama that's happening. But I'll be honest, man, we thrive in that environment. I absolutely love it. You know, being that moment when you're in there and that's happening, that's when I feel like, yes, this is now what I've been born to do.
You know, it's funny. It doesn't even feel challenging, like, because we've been doing it for so long.
It's not nervous.
It's not like we probably were more nervous in our early shoots when there was one subject, and we've been doing this for a year, shooting in my living room, versus now having, you know, 10 celebrities and 50 people on set. It's like now it's just because it's repetition, man. We've been doing it so long, and that's why I get so hung up on people, assistants, junior photographers, whatever, just practicing, man. Like practice, like training your body, man. Like, you know, it's training for marathon, man. You got to put those hours and miles in, and then you can run that marathon. But you will never get to run a marathon unless you've been practicing. And I think they pay, commercial photography is really interesting. They pay people, they're basically buying peace of mind. That's what they're buying. They're buying peace of mind that you're going to deliver in a fun, kind, exciting way, and the work is going to be world class, basically. I think that, and you got to work backwards, man. You've got to earn that privilege, and that's what it comes to putting those 10,000 hours in, man. And that's why I think it's so important that people want to do. We weren't ready, you know, when we started. We emailed big advertising agencies when we'd been shooting for a couple of years, and our work was nowhere near there. We didn't have the confidence. We would have crumbled, man. We would have crumbled around that amount of pressure.
And things go wrong. Like we were, and one of the days for the Adidas shoot, we were in Madrid, and one of the packs, the Pro Photo packs, blew up, exploded on set. You know, okay, now what do we do? Like, you know, everyone's thinking, what's going on?
Where were you when we needed you, Ravi, man?
You just carry on, you know. Obviously, we had some great assistants with us that day who kind of jump in and move everything around, but you know, things do go wrong. But yeah, it's just constantly upper level, man. You know, and that's what they expect from you. But the good thing is the more established you get, the more people give you the respect and understand your process. Like sometimes photographers can get nervous because someone's putting pressure on them. You know, the photo isn't coming out right, man. What's going on? Are you sure you know what you're doing? Like that can happen, you know. But when you get to a certain level, people know, okay, these guys can handle it. And I think that again is an earned kind of thing. You got to earn that level of kind of respect and privilege, I think.
And I used to ask myself, like even when we're doing shoots, I used to say to myself and talk to some of the assistants, do you want to do what we're doing? And they would actually say no. And I'm like, but you technically can shoot this. You basically set the lights up. They're like, I don't want to have the responsibility. I don't want the pressure of it. And that's when I realized the whole assisting thing of being a photographer is actually two very different things and two very different skill sets. Because I was like, surely you guys want to do this. Like, no, I don't want that. And that's for me, because we've never assisted. We don't know how other people operate. on a shoot. Like, and that's why whenever you come along, I was asking, like, Ravi, what do people do, man? Like, is this the normal? How does it? What's the vibe? Like, you tell me, man, because no, I don't know, you know. But it's fascinating, man. But you're actually in a very good position because you can learn from so many different people, man. So utilize that, man, and pick the best bits.
Like, I think I'm really blessed to have met the people I've done so far within the photographic world, like yourself and other people. And obviously, everyone is on their own journey and their own path, and you always have down moments. And, you know, particularly for me, my personal experience, you know, when you feel zero confidence in your own work at times, and that moment can either bring you down or it can bring you up. So it's a decision that you have to make when you're presented with that emotion.
Totally, man.
And
you're not on your own there, man. Any photographers, you know, who feel like that, you know, I used to suffer from it big time when people didn't used to get what we're trying to do or didn't like some of the work, man. He used to sit with me for days.
Absolutely.
Because I'm like, man, how much we put into this, and over time, I just grew thick skin. You know, it's subjective. Some people are gonna like it, some are not. But guess what? What do you learn from that? And how do you make sure you don't do that mistake again? Or, you know, how do you make sure you're better prepared for the next shoot, man? But yeah, any more questions?
Yes. So I've got one more question. Well, two more questions. But I wanted to ask you about, as a duo, what kind of projects or endeavors do you have in the pipeline? And maybe this has not been asked before, but as individuals, do you have anything you really want to do for yourselves? Not as
it's hard. You know, I don't know if we can go through all the projects. Some of them are quite
you don't.
Secret. Some of them are quite top secret. But we do everything. We do all our projects together. So, you know, we don't really pursue individual projects creatively just because we need each other for the jobs, like be it stills or motion. We both kind of need it. But I mean, I guess you can rattle off a couple.
Yeah. Well, recently, so we shot a team called the Antarctic Fire Angels, so a group of female firefighters actually who are going to be traveling to the Antarctic and crossing it. And I knew one of the ladies from a few years ago, Nikita, and I've been following their progress. But for us, this was a story of bravery, a story of courage, and you know, it's interesting when you meet. You know, one of the things we've realised, this ties back into Brown and Proud, is wrong assumptions, and the fact that firefighters are often called firemen is really interesting, right? Because people don't realise that. I think there's only used to be 1% of firefighters were female. Now I think it's gone to about 3%. And for us, that was brilliant. It's showing progress in an industry. And the same thing, its parents would say to a young girl, you can't be a firefighter. That's a man's job, you know. And same thing in photography. Indian parents may say, you should be a doctor or dentist. You're not built for it. So we always back projects and causes that challenge the status quo and that push boundaries. So for us, when we heard about the opportunity, that really tied into what we do. And we were shot last month, and it was probably one of the most fun days we've had, actually being inside a fire station, seeing the fire poles. We could smell beans and sausages when we were in there. Literally, we're like, this is what you see on the TV, man. And like, you see the big fire trucks, and there's water, and there's a behind-the-scenes video on our website. You can see it on there.
I mean, actually, the images on our site, but we are going to start sharing it on our social too.
But you know, something like that, Ravi, was really important for us because it was a chance for us to actually help the women with their fundraising. You know, get more awareness out, but also to have fun and create content where content we think other creatives and potentially commissioners will also appreciate as well. So. For us, man, there's loads of stuff. Yeah. Definitely check that out. I think you'll love it. And I would say to you, my friend, pick stuff you're interested in. I know you've got a big love of music and jazz, but find stuff you're genuinely interested in. It makes the whole process so much more fun.
Yeah.
And to sort of wrap up on a final question, particularly if I look at my own journey from when I left university, so you know, up and downs and so forth. But I wanted to get your advice, someone who's just 18, 19 years old, like when you started. What would be the ingredients you see necessary for for working as an assistant and then progressing into being a photographer. You touched on that romantic idea people have. Photography is like, wow, you know, and also to maybe a layman, it might just be picking up the camera and pressing a button, but not realizing what goes on behind the scenes, and that whole mechanic and real hard work and labor that's needed to make an image happen. So what is your sort of real piece of,
you know, I would say 3 words for me to sum it up: hunger, consistency, and execution. We get hit up. We meet so many photography assistants who are at that young, tender age with all the opportunity in the world, but some of them are falling short on those things. So they've got the hunger, but they lack the consistency. You know, that they can't commit to work. You know, and they can't necessarily execute. And then other people who have got other things, they'll execute the work, but then they'll be lazy, and then they haven't got the hunger, and they don't want to keep doing it. So I think for me, you know, if we had a chance, like I said, if we had a child, we could build a beast of a photographer. Literally, we could build a Terminator now, based on what we know, right? But the person would have to be so willing to do exactly what we say. A classic example is your message. Our message, your jobs will come in on message. We'll have our assistants that say, yes, there'll be other people. There's a group on my WhatsApp of about 20 photographers that are up and coming. Some people won't get back to me for 3 days, and they'll be like, yeah, oh, sorry, I was in Bournemouth for the weekend with my mum. And like, you missed an amazing shoot, or you could have just said yes. So I think there has to be that hunger, man. There has to be that, I'm willing to drop everything to do this, or frankly, it's not going to happen. That's me. It might sound a bit ruthless and raw, but it's the truth, man. And people don't like to hear the truth. They like to hear, you'll make it, you know, it'll take a bit of time, and we're vulnerable and we're emotional and it's tough. But you've got to be raw, man. You've got to get stuff done.
Yeah. I would add a couple of points to that. Please. So he's got to cover the attitude. I would say you have to start being your own boss, right, from a very young age, right? So that means allocating your days to certain things. So if you're going to assist and you're making money, then the days that you're off, you have to be shooting. Like, don't treat it like a day off. Shoot. Build your personal book. If you want to become a photographer as a career, if you want to stay an assistant, that's fine. But put it in your day, your schedule, your diary, like it's a job. You can't cancel that. You've got to shoot, right? I'd also say don't be afraid to get a side job to take care of the financial side of things, because it puts so much pressure on you when you don't have money. So if you can say, all right, I'm going to work 2 days a week, I'm going to assist maybe 1 to 2 days a week, and then the other 2 days I'm going to shoot. Yeah, guess what? You don't have a weekend, but you know what? You're trying to do something that you love. You know, shooting should be like a fun day for you. So you have to be very self-disciplined. You have to be hard on yourself to a certain degree where you hold yourself accountable, and then set yourself goals and say, look, I want to assist for these 3 years, right, building my knowledge. But by the time I'm 25, I want to be shooting pro. Because so many people get caught up in this in the assisting world, and the money starts to come in, and then to take that step, you know, to becoming pro and maybe not make as much money because you're not getting the shoots as often is difficult, and they don't take that step. But you've got to take that step, otherwise it will never happen. So schedule stuff in, take care of the financial side of things, right? So you're not struggling, because you know we did that in our 20s and it wasn't fun, right? And if I could go back, I would have got a side job just to cover, you know, even if I made an extra £500 a month, it would have made a big difference at that early age. And then yeah, be shooting and set yourself a goal. So that's what I would say. And if you can stick to those things, you know, I think you can end up, you know, achieving what you want to achieve.
Yeah. Cool.
Amazing, man.
Giving Ravi a lot to think about, man. I can see it in your face, man.
Well, yeah. Ravi, this has been the longest. This has been the longest discussion we've had, man. So
this discussion, you know, it's like, obviously, you know, when we're talking, it's like, you know, the brain's going and you want to talk about things, because like I you know, talk about the technical side. Like, I found that very important for me.
Yeah.
Lay that grasp of, if something's going wrong, I've got to be in a position to deal with it. And a bit like you on set, when I've been in situations, I've had to sort of polyboard myself away a little bit and say, you know, if take that light away and then just think about it without 20 people watching me what I'm doing. So and then, you know, I've in my personal work tried to, when I've shot analog with using studio lighting, I've limited myself to say, right, I'm going to shoot one roll of film per person, and then limit my possibilities for error. So all of those, I think, mechanics of putting yourself in the deep end constantly really do help, particularly if you're, you know, want to get really experimental from an early stage in your career, which is, you know, so far has helped me, and it's sort of manifesting itself as I progress now. So for sure, I think my take would be on the more technical side, to get that laid down first, and then be able to deal with the other aspects you guys talk about too, because that is, you know, I feel very passionate about when you know, like I think you said, Narup, at one stage, when, you know, if you know what's wrong and someone's trying to, a DOP is trying to say, oh, you should shoot in this way, but you know exactly what you want because you've gone through that process in your mind of how you want that shot. So it's having that understanding when you're employing people, that, yeah, this is what I want and this is how it should be done.
Yeah, man, you got to go with your gut, bro.
And you know, Ravi, closing point, remember that culture is more powerful than strategy. So how things are done, don't worry too technical. People have often said they've learned more maybe in a day shadowing us than they've learned in 3 years on YouTube, or looking at tutorials or reading photography magazines. And I'd probably agree with that, you know. And same with us, like we spend time with a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of really successful business people, and just learning how they navigate and is so important. You can learn more than reading 20 books, man. So I would encourage you. You're so likable, man. Like, you need to just spend more time with people who are where you want to be, and just soak it up, man, and then go away and implement, and you'll smash it up, man. No doubt about it.
Well, you know, one thing I'll never forget for sure is when we both, well, three of us were on the Millennium Wheel.
Oh, the London Eye, man.
Times in a row.
What a job, mate. What a job.
That was an interesting job, man. Yeah,
Isn't that funny, man? Like, if I go back 15 years ago, did we think we would have the responsibility to shoot the London Eye? We'd be walking through Madame Tussauds, shooting the ad campaign, and it's really eerie in there when it's quiet. Like, we're literally with all these celebrities, and we're like, how did this happen? Like, how are us two doing this, man? But it's momentum, man. It's evolution, and it's that undying self-belief.
Yeah, man, totally.
So you've got it, bro. You just got to keep pushing, man.
Ravi, you know the line's always open with us, man. Email us, give us a call whenever you need any advice. But we are going to have to wrap it up there. Dude, thank you so much. It was a real honor to be able to help you out. Our pleasure. And for everybody who's tuned in the last 5 days, we really, really thank you for being part of this initiative where we're trying to help photographers from minority ethnic backgrounds to progress in their careers. All the videos from the 5 days will be up on our YouTube and on our website and on our Amazing Agents @Trailers Instagram page. So you can go through and view all the previous conversations we've had this week. So big thank you to everyone that's been involved, all the participants, and to anybody who's watching, you know, good luck, keep going, keep pushing, and enjoy the journey. All right, Ravi, take care, my man. See you later. Bye-bye.